So you are feeling lost right now. What now? You're probably asking yourself. Well, before we get into that, I actually want to ask you something first. Before we even go further, I want you to do something for me. One thing that is, okay? It's pretty important. It's like the most important thing in the video. And that is, you have to stop judging yourself. Please stop judging yourself. Please do that. Don't judge yourself. Don't feel bad about the fact that you're feeling lost right now. Don't do that. Just be okay with it. Just breathe in, breathe out, and just realize that it's like not that big of a deal to feel lost right now. So keep that in mind as we go further. Now, what do I mean with being actually lost? What is meant by feeling lost? Now, there are two things I can come up with when somebody tells me he or she is lost. This is how I like to make the distinction, right? Because on option one, you have being lost. And what is meant by this, in my opinion, in my view, is the following. You having no clarity in life at all. You don't know what you want out of yourself. You don't know who you actually are, what you like, what are your desires, what are your wishes and stuff. You have no clarity at all. You're even like slightly depressed, or maybe like heavily depressed. You just have no clarity and you're like wandering in life and like actually having bad mental health and basically like going through a life as a mess, as a piece of I'm not gonna say it, but you know what I mean, right? So this is one of the things that's meant when people say like, yo, I feel lost. Now on the second hand, you can also say like, yo, I feel lost, but rather in a position where you actually know what you want. You're kind of like on your purpose. You follow your dreams, but there comes like a point where you're just like, yo, I'm not sure if I like should continue like that specific exact road, or should I take maybe like a slightly different road on my journey. You're just like not sure like what exactly you have to do on your journey, right? And this is like the type of lost I'm talking about. Now, if you're like in the previous situation where you have no clarity at all, you don't have a purpose, basically, you're like wondering like, yo, I actually feel lost and I'm not happy with it. Actually, like exactly the opposite. You're like very angry with it. I actually already have like a video on this. So if you want to check it out, click somewhere here on the screen and then check that out. But if you're in option two, where you are kind of like on your purpose, you know more or less where you want to go, and you just, are just not sure in the moment what exactly you have to do or which step you have to take on your journey. Well, this is like the type of lost I'm talking about. And this is like where I can share my experience and hopefully help you by sharing my experience. So let's get into that. Now, I want to tell you something. I'm a beatboxer. Now, you may think, yo, this is crazy. You're pretty good. You can always beatbox, probably on command, very good. And you always have ideas, right? Because, if I can say so about myself, I think I'm pretty well okay. Not the best beatboxer, because like for you, maybe you're not very, familiar with it, but trust me, there are like way better beatboxers than me. But if I can say so for myself, I'm pretty okay in beatboxing, right? Now, the thing is, you may think like I have it all together. It is like always perfect. I always have like these crazy ideas, probably is what you're thinking. But actually, that's not the case. Like the video you saw, if you saw the whole video, this is like a routine of mine, like something I know from A to Z, like as a complete song, you could say, right? This took me like months to create it. And this also reminds me like a lot of people I know, who are like, yeah, I'm into music. I like to make art. I would even like to be like a musician someday and like maybe do this full time and stuff. And then they try like once or twice or thrice, or even worse, they like practice for a month or two and then stop. And then I'm like, what? You expect to become a musician, an artist, and it can be anything, an entrepreneur, something you're chasing or pursuing, a dream of yours. You expect that stuff to come like this, like in a moment, like in a month or two, like one of the big, most of the biggest artists, entrepreneurs, big people, right? They dedicate their life to their craft, right? They like spend so much time. They dedicate their own life to this, right? It's like their purpose. They're like living this. And people expect like to have results like as if it's nothing. And that's crazy to me, right? And why am I bringing this up, right? Well, it's because you have to give it time and be okay with not knowing which exact step you're gonna take in the moment, right? Like for me to create that piece you just saw, it took me months, and this is like only one piece. This is one piece. I remember this taking up like 6 months or something, you know, like figuring out how everything should be together, matching well, because like I had so many other variations of this piece, but you know, not really match. Like imagine I was doing it only like for 1 week, and then suddenly I'm like, yo, this is way too much work, the piece. Imagine I would have said that. The whole piece wouldn't have existed, I wouldn't have a routine, and I would still probably be like, yeah, nothing. And this is what I'm trying to say. My whole point is basically like, don't expect to know the right answer right away. Give it time, right? Like, you don't know how many times it happened to me in my beatboxing journey, you know, me creating like my beatbox piece, my beatbox song, you could say. And then, you know, I just don't know the answer. But then suddenly, you know, as I'm like, you know, cooking or doing something in my life, whatever it may be, like hanging my clothes or whatever, making up my bed, suddenly like this idea, and it's like crazy, you know, I'm like really not a fan of like talking in this way, like, oh, and suddenly like the magic thing, but literally as I'm doing like my day-to-day stuff, ideas literally just pop in my head, literally. And you know, for you, maybe it's not beatboxing. It's probably, I'm pretty sure of it, something else, right? You know, for you, it can be skateboarding, it can be rope skipping, it can be swimming, it can be whatever you're into, right? Things just take time, and you have to be okay with that. And don't judge yourself, because this was like my first point to begin with, right? Don't judge yourself, be okay with it, right? And this also reminds me of the fact that we just have to be happy with what we are doing right now. And this brings me into the following. This realization I have from people in my close nearby, right? Looking at friends, people I know, that people get into things for the wrong reasons. People sometimes are like, yo, I should start this thing because I want XYZ. I'm gonna do this thing because then maybe XYZ. And look, there is actually nothing wrong with that to a certain degree, right? But if you only function in this way, right? If you only think like, if I do this, I'm gonna get this, everything becomes like this outcome dependent. And this is not what you want. Sure, there are things you can do, things that are like in your control and you can like actually do something about them. But guess what? There are also things you cannot do anything about them, right? And then you have to be able to deal with that, right? And that's why getting into things for the right reasons is actually like crucial and very important. So this is my message to you. If you don't know where you are right now in your journey, take it easy, take it slow, breathe, do something you enjoy, maybe take like a break from the thing you're actually doing or supposed to do, right? And just take it easy and yo, enjoy it, right? Because if you're not enjoying it and if you're like, you know, shaming yourself and feeling bad about it, then guess what? You will feel even worse and then you're gonna make zero progress. So that's why I'm saying, take it easy, don't judge yourself, it's okay, everybody is there, nobody knows like the exact perfect step that's about to come. So this sums it up for this video. I hope this brings value. Please let me know in the comments down below if this brought you value, or if you don't agree, or if there is like something you want me to make a video on. I would love to do that. Keep staying awesome, and I see you in the next one.